What if I told you that the universe was never destined to appear the way it does now? That the very ground beneath your feet was never meant to exist until one divine being forged it by will and another schemed to seize creation for himself? This is the startling Benin origin legend, a tale of sacred treachery, a fateful error, and a conflict that determined the path of humankind. So lean back, because this is the Chronicle of Africa. Before we journey deeper, let me ask you something. I know many of you are watching from every corner of the globe, connected by your fascination with African legends. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're joining from. I'll be there in the comments with you. And if this story captivates you, a like and subscription means more than you know. Now, let's return to the myth. Long before the world had formed, there was only a swirling chasm, an endless emptiness without shape or sound, broken only by divine murmurs. High above this abyss in the celestial realm called Yuan, dwelled the supreme god Ikalere, the all-wise and all-powerful source of all existence. He was the keeper of Elu, the sacred force that breathes energy into everything. One day, as Ikalere gazed down at the formless expanse, he resolved to craft the earth, a land where life would blossom. But he would not shape it alone. He summoned Abarua, the eternal sculptor and deity of creation, granting him a sacred charge. Abarua, Ikalere's voice thundered across the heavens, the hour has arrived to carve the world. You will descend into the abyss and mold the soil where waters will flow, forests will rise, and creatures will live. But remember, this task demands patience, wisdom, and the essence of Elu. Abarua bowed in reverence and accepted the divine responsibility. To aid him, Ikalere provided a shining chain long enough to reach the void, a pouch filled with enchanted soil, and a radiant white rooster. As Abarua prepared for descent, he sensed a presence, his younger yet ambitious sibling Arawa, standing nearby with eyes full of envy. Abarua ignored him, focusing on his mission. With firm resolve, he climbed down the gleaming chain, slowly lowering himself toward the endless waters of nothingness below. With each descent, the void grew heavier, the silence sharper, and the shadows more suffocating. Yet he held the sacred pouch firmly. This was the purpose he was born for. When he reached the chain's end, dangling above the endless waters, Arlon loosened the pouch and scattered the holy grains across the surface. Then he released the snow-white rooster. What followed was astonishing. The bird beat its wings and clawed at the grains, spreading them far and wide. Wherever the grains touched, dry ground began to rise. Small ridges grew into valleys and hills, shaping the first lands of existence. The waters pulled back, forming streams and vast lakes, until an island finally emerged. Arlon gazed with awe at this work and called it Solara, the sacred cradle of beginnings. Yet this was only the start. The earth was still raw, incomplete. Unseen by him, his younger brother Vaynar carried secret ambitions, plans that would alter destiny itself. Arlon stood proudly on the newborn soil, the hills and ridges stretching into the horizon, but the silence felt haunting. Something vital was absent: life. The stillness pressed on him, so he resolved to mold creatures who would walk, breathe, and thrive under divine eyes. But exhaustion consumed him. The descent from Elera had been draining, and the warmth of this fresh world was harsher than the cool skies above. Setting aside his sacred tools, he sought rest and drink. That was when he found a towering palm tree, flowing with sweet nectar. From it, he brewed wine. Unused to its strength, he drank deeply, and his senses clouded. Watching from afar, Vaynar's ambitions ignited. With Arlon overcome by drink, Vaynar seized the golden chain and descended into the world his brother had begun. Landing upon Solara, he saw its incompleteness. A thought stirred within him: why should Arlon alone claim creation? Was he not equally worthy? With this, Vaynar grabbed the pouch's remaining grains and spread them further, pushing the land beyond its first borders. He lifted. New ridges rose and rivers carved deeper paths, as he molded the earth with his own hands. While doing so, he proclaimed himself the rightful master of this creation. When Arlon awoke, the land was no longer his alone. It had expanded beyond anything he envisioned. At its heart stood his brother Vaynar, tall and triumphant. Arlon's voice thundered across the ridges. "How dare you interfere with what I began?" Vaynar turned with a sly grin. "You abandoned your duty, brother. I only carried forward the work that was left undone." Rage boiled within Arlon. but he knew nothing could reverse what had taken place. Solara had grown, and now two creators stood where once there was one. Yet Illyrian, the supreme god, who witnessed all, was displeased. He sent his messenger, Saurian, the god of wisdom, to resolve the conflict. "This feud must end," Saurian proclaimed. Vaynar expanded the land, but it was Arlon who first set foot upon it. From this day, Vaynar shall reign as king of the earth, lord of the land. But Arlon will carry the greater purpose. He shall craft the beings destined to live upon it. And thus the world's fate was sealed. Vaynar, the first ruler, laid the foundations of kingdoms, while Arlon, the divine sculptor, turned to an even higher calling, the creation of humanity. Though bitterness lingered over his brother's intrusion, Arlon accepted this sacred task. If he could not govern the land, he would give it breath. Beneath towering palms of Solara, he sat gathering the purest clay, kneading it with divine care. With steady hands, he shaped the first human forms, arms, faces, legs, all molded with precision. Some tall, others short, some with wide brows, others with sharp features. Yet just as he neared completion, a temptation stirred within him. Though he had sworn never to taste palm wine after his earlier downfall, the relentless sun and fatigue overcame him. A jar of fermented drink sat untouched nearby. Surely, one sip would do no harm. But one became two, and two became many. Soon his hands, once steady, grew clumsy. His fingers shook, and in his drunken haze, some of the forms twisted oddly. A few bore crooked backs, others had bent limbs, but he failed to notice. When clarity returned, he saw the flaws and felt shame pierce his heart. How could the divine sculptor falter so greatly? With sorrow, he carried his clay figures to Illyrian. The supreme god studied them, his gaze steady and vast. "Arlon, you have labored well, but your task is unfinished. I alone grant the breath of being. Yet know this, the imperfect ones you shaped shall live among the whole, for they too are mine." And Illyrian exhaled Luma, the sacred breath, and the figures stirred awake. The first humans blinked into life, stepping onto Solara. Some strode tall and strong, while others bore the marks of Arlon's weakness. Realizing his folly, Arlon swore an oath. "From this day, I shall never again taste the palm's wine. I will stand as guardian to those born different, for they are bound to me." Thus the Solaran people say those born with disabilities rest under Arlon's divine care. As the first mortals spread across the land, Vaynar claimed them as his subjects, teaching them to build homes, cultivate soil, and forge the earliest kingdom. Earth now pulsed with life, and the gods looked upon their growing creation. Yet still it was incomplete, for without order, chaos would soon rise. The age of mortals had begun. Rivers wound through wide lands. The first people thrived beneath the divine gaze, Vaynar ruling as king while Arlon, wiser now, continued molding new forms with steady hands. Yet something vital was absent. Though the earth had shape and breath, it lacked design. Days passed, nights fell, but the future held no clarity. People lived without direction, unaware of their fate. From his throne, Illyrian saw this emptiness. The world could not remain in such uncertainty. So he summoned Myron, god of wisdom and foresight, entrusting him with a sacred charge. "Myron, you shall bring knowledge of destiny to mortals. Teach them to seek counsel, to help mortals understand the paths before them and honor the powers that shape existence." Myron descended to the earth and bestowed upon humanity Solon, the sacred art of divination. He revealed that lives were guided by fate yet shaped through choices. By consulting Solon, humans could glimpse their destinies, foresee dangers, and seek harmony. But one last force remained, the balance of light and shadow, good and wickedness. From the veil of dusk emerged Kale, the trickster spirit, the bridge between mortals and the divine. Kale was neither wholly kind nor entirely cruel. He embodied chaos, ensuring balance was never broken. He carried divine words to humankind and tested their wisdom by setting choices before them. "Mortals must learn," he declared, "that every action bears a consequence. Their destinies are written, yet the roads they take remain their own." With Myron's guidance, Kale's challenges, Vaynar's reign, and Arlon's creations, the world at last reached completion. The gods had shaped a realm where humans found purpose, and the divine walked beside them. Thus Solara became known as the cradle of life, the sacred homeland of its people. Even now, echoes of the myth endure. Solon's divination still guides seekers of truth. Erelon's vow is remembered in the care of those born different. And Kale's spirit whispers that life is a path of endless choices. The gods made the world, but humanity's journey was only beginning. This story is more than a myth. It is the foundation of Solaren tradition. It explains diversity, why some are born with differences, and why all are worthy of respect. It teaches that even gods may stumble, but true power lies in restoring balance. The tale also enshrines Halira, Solara's sacred heart, as both the spiritual and political center from which kings drew divine rule. Even today, Solaren monarchs, called Uren, trace their bloodline to Vaynar, believing his essence lives within them. Which other African myths should I retell next? Share your ideas in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and spread these legendary stories.